A retired widower moved to a house near a high school, enjoying peaceful days until the school year began. Each afternoon, 3 boys marched down the street, gleefully banging on every trash bin they passed. After a week of this racket, the man devised a clever plan. One afternoon, he approached the boys and said, "You know, I used to do the same thing when I was your age. It's such fun. Tell you what, I'll pay each of you $1 if you keep banging the bins every day." Delighted, the boys happily accepted. A few days later, the man greeted them with a regretful smile. "Boys, money's tight these days. From now on, I can only pay you 50 cents each." The boys grumbled, but agreed to keep at it. A few days after that, the man returned with another update. "Sorry, fellas, the recession's hit hard. I can only afford 25 cents each now." The ringleader scoffed. "What? You expect us to make all this noise for just 25 cents? Forget it. We quit!" The man smiled and enjoyed blissful silence for the rest of his retirement. One November afternoon, I picked up my kindergarten-aged daughter from school. She skipped over to the car and climbed into the back seat, brimming with excitement. "What did you learn today?" I asked. Her eyes lit up. "We learned that boys are different from girls." I glanced in the rearview mirror, catching the top of her head. "Oh, really? How so?" "Well," she began, "boys have a thing that girls don't." "Uh-huh," I replied cautiously, unsure where this was going. "That's how you can tell a boy is a boy," she continued, "and you see the thing hanging down and you just know he's a boy." I felt the 5-minute drive home stretch into eternity. "And did you know," she added with curiosity, "that when boys see girls, they puff up?" My grip tightened on the steering wheel. They do?" "Yeah," she said confidently. "And girls like that. Boys have those things. Do you know why?" At that point, I had no idea what to say, so I stammered, "Why?" She answered matter-of-factly, "Because when boys walk, it moves. And that's how girls know they're boys. Then the boy puffs up when he sees the girl and the girl knows he likes her. And then they get married. And then they get cooked." "Cooked?" I echoed, confused, but also a little relieved this bizarre explanation was almost over. When we got home, she hopped out of the car, proudly pulling a drawing from her backpack. "Want to see what I drew?" she asked. Still reeling from the conversation, I hesitated, but I looked. What I saw made me burst into laughter. It was a big, proud tom turkey. His snood, the thing hanging down over his beak, was drawn in spectacular detail, and his puffed-up feathers were on full display. "That's the thing," she said triumphantly. She didn't understand why I laughed so hard, but I assured her I loved her drawing. And I did. Since that day, every Thanksgiving, I remember her innocent explanation of turkeys and boys. And honestly, I haven't looked at either quite the same way since. On the last day of kindergarten, the children brought gifts for their teacher. The florist's son handed her a box. She gave it a shake and said, "I bet this is flowers." "That's right," the boy exclaimed. Next, the candy store owner's daughter gave her a gift. The teacher shook it and guessed, "I think it's a box of candy." "Correct," the little girl beamed. Finally, little Johnny, the liquor store owner's son, handed her a package. It was leaking. Curious, the teacher touched a drop of the liquid and tasted it. "Is it wine?" she asked. "No," Johnny said. She tried another drop. "Juice?" "Nope," he replied. Puzzled, she gave up. "All right, Johnny, what is it?" Johnny grinned. "A puppy." A 12-year-old girl was walking home when a man on a black motorcycle pulled up beside her. "Hey there, little girl," he said with a wink. "Want to go for a ride?" "No," she snapped, quickening her pace. Undeterred, he pulled up again. "Come on! I'll give you $10 if you hop on." No, she repeated, walking even faster. The man wasn't giving up. He caught up to her once more and said, "All right, last offer, $20 and a big bag of candy if you get on the bike." Finally, the girl stopped, turned to him, and said with an exasperated glare, "Listen, Dad, you're the one who bought the Honda instead of the Harley. You ride it." Three kids were having a lively debate about whose dad was the fastest. "My dad is the fastest," Anya declared. "He's a builder. He can throw a brick off the 5th floor, race down the stairs, and catch it before it hits the ground." "That's nothing," Brad scoffed. "My dad is way faster. He's a professional archer. He can shoot an arrow at a wolf, run, and grab the wolf before the arrow even lands." "Impressive," Tommy said with a smirk, "but my dad is way faster." "Really? What does he do?" Anya and Brad asked. "My dad's worked at the DMV for 20 years, Tommy explained. "He's supposed to finish work at 5 p.m., but he's home by 1. A father, mother, and their son decided to spend a hot summer day at the beach. But when they arrived, they saw a black flag, a warning not to go into the water. The boy was disappointed. "I want to swim," he said, but his mother firmly refused. They stayed on the sand to play and relax. After a while, the father grew restless. He turned to his wife and said, "Keep an eye on the boy." "I'm going in. The sea can't be that dangerous." The boy watched his dad wade into the waves and asked, "Mom, why can Dad go in the water, but I can't?" "Because there are things your dad can do that you can't," she replied. "Is it because Dad's a great swimmer?" "Not really," she said. "Is it because he's big and strong?" "No," she answered. "Then why?" the boy whined. "Because," she said calmly, "Daddy has life insurance." A blonde starts her new job as a physical education teacher for 14-year-olds. On her first day, she watches the kids play soccer. As the game unfolds, she notices a boy standing all alone at the end of the field while the rest of the kids run around, chasing the ball. Feeling sorry for him, she decides to check in. "Hey there," she says gently. "Are you okay?" "Yes," the boy replies. "You know, you can join the other kids and play," she says encouragingly. "It's better if I stay here," he replies. "Why's that, sweetie?" she asks, full of concern. The boy gives her a confused look and says, "Because I'm the goalie." It was a typical day in first grade, and the teacher asked the students to share what their parents do for a living. Some kids eagerly described their parents' jobs, while others struggled to explain. When it was little Johnny's turn, he stood up proudly and said, "My dad cuts people in half." The teacher chuckled. "Oh, really? Is he a magician?" "I don't know," Johnny replied. "Maybe a surgeon?" she guessed. "I don't know," he repeated. Puzzled, the teacher asked, "Then why do you think he cuts people in half?" Johnny shrugged and said, "Because I have 2 half-brothers and 3 half-sisters." A soldier had just returned home on leave after a year and was feeling excited. However, when he arrived, he discovered that his wife was away at her sister's wedding. Determined to see her, he made his way to his in-laws' place. When he finally spotted her, he leaned in and said, "Honey, it's been a whole year. Can't you make an exception tonight?" She blushed and replied, "I'm sleeping on the women's side here." Undeterred, he whispered, "All right, when everyone's asleep, I'll come by and ask, 'Did you eat the sweet rice?' If you say yes, I'll know it's you." Later that night, he sneaked over to the women's side and whispered to the first woman he found, "Did you eat the sweet rice?" "Yes," she mumbled. So the soldier got in bed and spent half an hour with her. After returning to his side, he came back 15 minutes later and asked again, "Did you eat the sweet rice?" "Yes," she replied. Once more, he joined her for about half an hour. When he returned for the 5th time, he asked, "Did you eat the sweet rice?" This time, the woman responded with frustration. "Soldier, it wasn't just me who ate the sweet rice. Everyone here did. Your wife's in the next bed over. Go ask her already. She also ate the sweet rice." Mrs. Jones went to the market but realized, to her dismay, that she had lost her purse along the way. Feeling distraught, she retraced her steps, hoping against hope to find it. After a few minutes, a boy came running toward her, waving a purse in his hand. "Is this yours, ma'am?" he called out. "Yes, yes, it is," Mrs. Jones exclaimed, overjoyed. She hugged the boy and eagerly opened the purse to check its contents. "That's odd," she remarked, noticing something unusual. "When I lost my purse, there was a $20 bill inside. Now there are $21 coins." The boy shrugged and said, "The last time I found a lady's purse, she didn't have any change for a reward." A little girl wanted to take her dog Lulu for a walk around the block, so she asked her mother for permission. "No, sweetie," her mother replied. "Lulu is in heat." Curious, the girl asked, "What does that mean?" Her mother, busy with something else, said, "Why don't you ask your dad in the garage?" So the girl went to her father in the garage and asked, "I want to take Lulu for a walk, but Mom says she's in heat and told me to ask you about it." The father grabbed a rag, poured some gasoline on it, and rubbed it on Lulu's backside to mask the scent. "Now you can take her for a walk," he said. "Just don't let her off the leash and she'll be fine." The little girl skipped away happily with Lulu trotting alongside. A few minutes later, the girl returned, holding an empty leash. "Where's Lulu, sweetie?" her dad asked, concerned. "She ran out of gas halfway around the block," the girl explained. "So the neighbor's dog is giving her a push home." The teacher asked the class to use the word fascinate in a sentence. Molly raised her hand and said, "My family went to my granddad's farm, and we all saw his pet sheep. It was fascinating." The teacher smiled but corrected her. "That was good, but I wanted you to use the word fascinate, not fascinating." Caroline raised her hand next and said, "My family went to see New York City, and I was fascinated." The teacher sighed, a bit frustrated. "Well, that was good, Carolyn, but I wanted you to use the word fascinate." At this point, little Johnny raised his hand. The teacher knew he had a reputation for being a bit of a troublemaker, but she was desperate to finish the lesson, so she thought, "There's no way he can mess up the word fascinate." "Go ahead, Johnny," she said, resigned. Little Johnny smiled mischievously and said, "My Aunt Carolyn has a sweater with 10 buttons, but her breasts are so big she can only fasten 8. The teacher sat down and cried. A woman is riding the bus, trying to breastfeed her baby, but the baby isn't interested. After several attempts, the mother gets frustrated. "Drink the milk or I'll give it all to the man sitting at the back," she threatens. The baby continues to play around, uninterested. A few minutes later, she tries again. "Drink the milk, or I'll really give it all to the man at the back, and you'll go hungry." The baby ignores her. Now, quite angry, she tries once more. "I'm definitely going to give it all to the man at the back if you don't behave." This goes on for a few more rounds, until finally, she hears a voice from the back of the bus. "Lady, will you please make up your mind? I was supposed to get off 5 stops ago." 2 little boys walk into a grocery store. One is 9, the other is 4. The 9-year-old grabs a box of tampons from the shelf and takes it to the checkout counter. The cashier, noticing the box, asks, "Oh, these must be for your mom, right?" The 9-year-old replies, "Nope, not for my mom." The cashier, a bit puzzled, says, "Well, they must be for your sister then." "Nope, not for my sister either," the boy responds. By now, the cashier is really curious. "Okay, not for your mom, not for your sister. Then, who are they for?" "They're for my 4-year-old little brother," the boy says calmly. The cashier is shocked. "Your little brother? Why?" The 9-year-old explains. "Well, they say on TV that if you wear one of these, you can do all sorts of things like swim, run real fast, or ride a bike, and my little brother can't do any of those things."